Welcome to Cheater Fallout. Let us get started with today's story. My fiancé said, "My ex is coming on the cruise. If that makes you uncomfortable, stay home." I had paid for the luxury suite and every excursion. I told her to enjoy herself. Then I canceled every reservation under my credit card. And then, original post, I 33 male, had been with my fiancée Blythe, 31 female, for 4 years. We got engaged 8 months ago, and honestly, up until the absolute insanity of last week, I thought I had my entire life perfectly mapped out. And I work as a senior director of commercial underwriting for a major firm here in Atlanta, Georgia. It is a high-stress, high-hours job that requires me to manage massive real estate portfolios across the Southeast. But it pays exceptionally well. Blythe works in upscale commercial interior design, outfitting boutique hotels and high-end law offices. We had what looked like a picture-perfect, incredibly privileged life. A beautiful, modern condo in Midtown Atlanta, overlooking Piedmont Park, a shared love for the local culinary scene, 2 golden retrievers named Duke and Daisy, and a vibrant, wealthy social circle. However, there was always one lingering, irritating shadow in our relationship: her ex-boyfriend, Vance. Vance is 32, a self-proclaimed nomadic entrepreneur and lifestyle consultant who essentially spent the last 3 years bouncing between teaching surf camps in Tamarindo, Costa Rica, and pouring pints at craft breweries in Asheville, North Carolina. He and Blythe dated for 3 years in their mid-20s. When we first got together, Blythe assured me they were strictly platonic, just a remnant of the same overarching college friend group that never really dispersed. I consider myself a secure, logical guy, so I never made a massive deal out of his occasional appearances at group birthdays, friendsgiving dinners, or holiday parties. I firmly believe that if you have to put your partner on a leash or monitor their phone, you should not be in a relationship with them in the first place. But over the last 6 months, Vance had relocated back to Atlanta permanently, and his presence had grown from a background annoyance to a constant, irritating static in my daily life. He was always texting her niche internet memes at midnight, asking for professional design advice for a phantom coffee shop he was supposedly opening in Decatur, and generally hovering just at the edge of our relationship boundaries. He was the guy who always hugged her just a little too long and brought up inside jokes from 2018. Still, I trusted Blythe implicitly. I thought we were building a marriage. That trust was my first and almost my most expensive mistake. 3 months ago, I closed the largest commercial insurance portfolio of my career, a massive mixed-use development project in Buckhead. My firm rewarded me with a mid-year bonus that honestly made my head spin. I wanted to celebrate in a massive way, and Blythe had been complaining endlessly about being burned out with her demanding design clients. I decided to pull out all the stops and book us an extravagant pre-honeymoon vacation. I did not want just any standard vacation. I wanted a once-in-a-lifetime luxury experience to celebrate our engagement and my career milestone. I booked a 9-day Southern Caribbean cruise departing from Port Everglades in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The itinerary was incredible: Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, and a private island stop in the Dominican Republic. But the real flex was the room. I bypassed the standard balconies and booked the Grand Owner's Suite in the ship's exclusive keycard access-only luxury enclave. We are talking a 1,200-square-foot suite with a massive wraparound balcony, a private outdoor hot tub, a dedicated 24/7 butler named Alejandro, and exclusive access to a private, guests-only restaurant and sundeck at the top of the ship. I put the entire thing on my American Express Platinum card. The suite alone was $14,200. But I did not stop there because I wanted this to be flawless. I booked the premium beverage packages, a private sunset catamaran charter in Aruba, stop for $1,200, a very important person scuba excursion in Bonaire for $800, and first-class Delta flights from Atlanta down to Fort Lauderdale. The total damage was hovering right around $17,500. It was entirely prepaid. Blythe was absolutely ecstatic when I surprised her with the itinerary. She spent weeks buying expensive new resort wear, bragging to her friends at brunch, and posting aesthetic countdowns on her Instagram story. I was just excited to turn off my work phone, disconnect from my endless emails, and spend a week drinking overpriced premium mojitos with the woman I was going to marry. The cruise was scheduled to depart on a Saturday afternoon. Fast forward to Thursday evening, less than 48 hours before our 8 a.m. flight to Florida. I was in the master bedroom packing my DOP kit and folding my linen shirts when Blythe walked in. She poured herself a heavy glass of Pinot Noir, leaned against the doorframe, and had this forced, overly casual tone in her voice that I instantly recognized. It was her "I am about to say something you will hate, so I am going to act like it is no big deal" voice. "So, crazy coincidence," she started, swirling her wine and deliberately not meeting my eyes. "I was talking to Keely today, and apparently, Vance and a couple of the guys booked a last-minute cruise, and it turns out it is the exact same ship we are going on." I stopped zipping my canvas duffel bag. The silence in the bedroom was deafening. I looked up at her. "Vance is going to be on our ship? The same 9-day Southern Caribbean cruise out of Fort Lauderdale?" "Yeah," she chirped, finally looking at me with wide, painfully fake, innocent eyes. "Is it not wild? What are the odds?" He got some super cheap interior cabin deal they were running online. Anyway, he said they would love to buy us a drink by the pool on the first sea day to celebrate our engagement. My blood ran cold. The sheer mathematical impossibility of Vance accidentally booking the exact same niche, 9-day luxury itinerary out of a specific Florida port on the exact same date was staggering. I was not stupid. I work in risk assessment. I know when the numbers do not add up. "Blythe, do not lie to my face," I said, keeping my voice dangerously low. "How long have you known he was going on this trip?" Her facade dropped instantly, replaced by immediate, aggressive defensiveness. The wine glass stopped swirling. "You are so unbelievably controlling. He booked it a month ago. I did not tell you because I knew you would freak out and act exactly like this. Making a massive deal out of nothing. He is just a friend. And it is a massive ship with 4,000 people on it. We barely even have to see them." The argument escalated rapidly from there. I pointed out that keeping this a secret for a whole month was a massive, deliberate breach of trust. She had essentially hijacked our romantic $17,500 couples retreat and turned it into a group hangout with her ex-boyfriend. I told her I had absolutely no interest in spending my hard-earned luxury vacation playing third wheel, while Vance hovered around our private cabanas trying to mooch off my premium drink package. I told her flat out that I was not going if he was going to be tagging along and invading our space. That is when she crossed the absolute point of no return. She slammed her wineglass down on the dresser, splashing red wine onto the wood, and glared at me with absolute contempt. "You know what?" Blythe snapped, her voice dripping with entitlement. "I am not going to let your pathetic, fragile insecurity ruin my vacation. Vance is coming on the cruise. I am going to hang out with my friends. If that makes you uncomfortable, then just stay home. I will go by myself." Time seemed to slow down. I stared at the woman I had asked to marry me. The sheer audacity and entitlement radiating off her was suffocating. She genuinely believed she had all the leverage. In her mind, the trip was already paid for. The first-class flights were booked. The suite was reserved under both our names. She calculated that I would either cave and go, miserable and submissive while her ex hovered around, or I would stay home and pout while she lived it up in a $14,000 suite that I paid for, likely sneaking Vance into the very important person enclave for free food and premium liquor. I did not yell. I did not throw anything. The burning, chaotic anger in my chest suddenly crystallized into a freezing, absolute calm. The veil had been lifted completely. I saw exactly who she was: selfish, manipulative, and entirely disrespectful of me and my contributions to our life. The engagement died in my heart in that exact second. I looked her dead in the eyes and said in a perfectly flat conversational tone, "You know what, Blythe? You are right. I should not ruin your vibe. I will stay home. You go. Enjoy yourself." She blinked, clearly thrown off by my immediate capitulation. She was expecting a screaming match. A smug, victorious smile crept onto her face. "Thank you. Finally, you are being an adult and being reasonable. I will see you when I get back, and we can seriously work on your trust issues." She grabbed her wine glass and walked out of the room, shutting the door behind her. I immediately walked into my home office, locked the heavy oak door behind me, and opened my laptop. I pulled up my American Express portal and the cruise line's agent website. I knew the terms and conditions of my booking inside and out, because we were less than 48 hours from sailing. Canceling meant a 100% penalty on the base cruise fare. I would lose the $14,200 for the Grand Owner's suite entirely. It would vanish into thin air. But at that moment, sitting in my quiet office, I did not care about the money. I cared about sending a message that would echo through eternity. I viewed it as the cost of dodging a miserable marriage and a messy, catastrophic divorce. I called the cruise line's very important person platinum concierge desk. A lovely woman named Brenda answered. "Hi, Brenda," I said smoothly, pulling up my confirmation numbers. "I need to completely cancel booking reference Alpha Tango 79er. Passenger names are myself and Blythe, departing this Saturday from Port Everglades." Brenda paused, her keyboard clicking stop. "Sir, I see you are in the Grand Owner's suite for the 9-day itinerary. I must inform you that canceling now falls strictly into the 100% penalty phase. You will receive absolutely no refund for the cruise fare. We cannot issue future cruise credit at this late stage. Are you entirely certain you want to proceed?" "Brenda, I have never been more certain of anything in my 33 years on this earth." "Cancel it. Release the room back into the inventory immediately." "Understood, sir. Processing the cancellation now." Brenda's keyboard clacked rapidly for a few seconds. "I have successfully canceled the suite. It is gone. Now, because you pre-purchased the premium drink packages, the specialty dining reservations, the spa passes, and the shore excursions. Those are actually fully refundable up to 24 hours before sailing. I can refund $3,300 back to your original payment method." "Brenda, you are an absolute angel." "Yes, please refund the extras." Next, I logged into my Delta account. I canceled both of our first-class tickets to Fort Lauderdale. Because I always book fully refundable fares for domestic travel, that $1,800 went straight back onto my American Express within seconds. Within 30 minutes, the entire vacation ceased to exist. I received the cancellation confirmation emails, archived them in a folder named Severance, and went to sleep in the guest bedroom. Friday morning arrived. Blythe was up at 5 a.m., happily dragging her massive, overpriced away suitcases to the front door. She assumed my sleeping in the guest room was just me throwing a silent tantrum. I came out to the kitchen in my sweatpants to pour a cup of black coffee. "My Uber Black is here," she said, checking her makeup in the hallway mirror, oblivious to the reality of her situation. "My flight is at 8. Are you seriously not coming?" "I told you last night," I replied, taking a sip of coffee. "I am staying home. Have a great time with Vance." She rolled her eyes, scoffed, and walked out the door. "Grow up," she yelled, before the door clicked shut. At 8:15 a.m., I got a text from her. "Boarding the plane. They bumped me to Comfort Plus since you canceled your ticket. You are missing out. See you in a week." I did not reply. I simply went into my phone settings and temporarily blocked her number, as well as the numbers of her best friend Keely and Vance. I went to work, took myself out for a phenomenal dry-aged ribeye for lunch at Marcel, and enjoyed the quietest, most peaceful Friday afternoon I had experienced in years. I knew her flight landed in Fort Lauderdale around 10:30 a.m. I knew she had planned to take a shuttle to Port Everglades, drop her heavy bags with the porters, and head straight to the very important person check-in lounge for suite guests. I timed my unblocking perfectly. At 2 p.m., I went into my settings and unblocked everyone. Update 1. The absolute second I unblocked her, my iPhone practically vibrated off my office desk. The barrage of notifications was staggering. 47 missed calls from Blythe, 12 missed calls from Keely, 8 missed calls from an unknown Florida number, 4 missed calls from Blythe's mother, Carol. Then the text messages loaded in, popping up on my screen in a frantic, chaotic, chronological cascade of growing panic. Blythe. "Hey, I am at the very important person lounge in Terminal 2, but the concierge is saying there is an error with our reservation. They cannot find the suite. Call me." "Blythe, they are saying the booking is canceled." "What is going on? Pick up the damn phone." "Blythe, answer me. The port agents are saying you called and canceled the room last night. Tell me this is a mistake. Garrett, please pick up." "Blythe, I am standing in the middle of Terminal 2 crying. Everyone is staring at me. They will not let me pass the security checkpoint. You need to fix this right now. My luggage is already with the porters. Keely. You are a literal psycho. Pick up the phone right now. Blythe is having a full-blown panic attack at the port. Blythe. Vance tried to get me into his room, but it is a single-occupancy interior cabin, and the ship is at maximum capacity. The Coast Guard regulations literally will not let them add me to his room. I have nowhere to go. They are telling me to leave the terminal. Carol. Mother-in-law Garrett. You call me this instant. How dare you strand my daughter in Florida? You are a monster. I leaned back in my ergonomic Herman Miller chair, took a deep breath, and typed my first and only response to Blythe. Me. I am confused. You explicitly told me last night that if I was uncomfortable with your ex-boyfriend being on our romantic vacation, I should stay home. So, I took your advice and I stayed home. I cannot very well keep a $14,000 reservation for a trip I am not going on. I hope you and Vance figure it out. Enjoy the cruise. The response was instantaneous. My phone rang. It was Blythe. I silenced it and watched it ring out. Then the text started pouring in again. Blythe, you spent $14,000. You just threw it away to punish me. You are sick. Me, it was my $14,000 to throw away. Think of it as a severance package for this relationship. We are done, Blythe. Keep the engagement ring. Pawn it, sell it, I do not care. I will have all your stuff boxed up by Sunday. Then, the plot twist of the century. Vance texted me. The audacity of this guy was incredible. Vance, bro, this is totally uncalled for. You left her stranded in Florida. Be a man and fix this. She is sobbing on the curb outside the terminal. Just call them and rebook the room or pay for her to get a nice hotel for the week. I actually laughed out loud in my quiet office, drawing a strange look from my assistant walking by. Me, Vance, my guy. You are the nomadic entrepreneur. You are the one who wanted a vacation with her. You step up and pay for her hotel. Or better yet, give her your bed in that windowless closet you booked, and you sleep on the Lido deck. She is your problem now. Bon voyage. I blocked Vance permanently. I blocked Keely. I blocked Carol. Blythe was now trapped in a logistical nightmare entirely of her own making. Because I canceled her Delta return flight earlier that morning, she could not just turn around and go to the Fort Lauderdale airport to fly home easily. She was physically stranded at Port Everglades on a Friday afternoon during peak Caribbean tourist season. The cruise ship personnel eventually located her massive away suitcases in the holding area, pulled them off the loading pallets, and unceremoniously wheeled them back out to the hot Florida curb. She had to stand there, sweating in her expensive resort wear, and watch the massive ship, with Vance safely aboard, blow its horn and sail out of the channel into the ocean without her. Update 2. From what I gathered later through angry, unhinged voicemails from her father, who I also eventually had to block, Blythe's Friday afternoon was a master class in misery and financial bleeding. She had to drag her heavy luggage to the designated rideshare zone, fighting with hundreds of other tourists. Every decent hotel in Fort Lauderdale or Miami was either completely sold out for the weekend or charging $600 to $800 a night for standard room. Without my credit card to fall back on, she panicked. She ended up booking a depressing rundown room at a budget motel near the airport highway for $180. She spent Friday evening in a dingy motel room, crying, eating vending machine pretzels, and desperately trying to book a flight home. She had to buy a last-minute one-way flight back to Atlanta on Spirit Airlines for Saturday morning, which cost her nearly $800 out of her own pocket. While she was living through that nightmare, I was exceptionally busy at the condo. I called up 2 of my best buddies, Marcus and Dave. I bought 3 cases of craft beer and ordered 4 large pizzas from Antico. And we spent Friday night systematically packing up every single thing Blythe owned. We packed her clothes, her endless collection of shoes, her ridiculous assortment of decorative throw pillows, her $400 face creams, and all of her bulky interior design sample boards and Pantone books. We did not break anything, but we were not gentle either. By 2 a.m., we had stacked about 40 cardboard boxes neatly in the living room, completely clearing out her presence from the master bedroom and bathroom. Saturday at 2 p.m., I heard my front door unlock. Blythe walked in, dragging her suitcase. She looked like an absolute ghost. Her expensive spray tan was streaked from hours of crying. Her hair was a frizzy mess from the Florida humidity, and she looked utterly exhausted. She froze in the entryway when she saw the massive wall of moving boxes dominating the living room. "You are actually doing this?" she whispered, her voice hoarse and broken. "Over one argument, you are throwing away 4 years." "It was not one argument, Blythe," I said, leaning against the kitchen island. "It was the absolute, blatant disrespect. You plotted with your ex-boyfriend for a month to hijack my vacation, ambushed me 48 hours before our trip, and then told me to stay home if I did not like it. So, I stayed home. I just took my credit card with me." The anger drained out of her, replaced by panic. She tried to cry, tried to apologize, tried to blame Keely and Vance for pressuring her into keeping it a secret. She said she was just confused and did not want to cause drama. I did not engage with any of it. My emotional detachment was absolute. I handed her a printed document breaking down the lease agreement, showing that her name was never on the mortgage. I told her she had until Sunday night at 8 p.m. to get a U-Haul truck and get her boxes out of my condo. Or I was changing the locks on Monday morning and paying movers to dump it all in a public storage unit under her name. She realized I was completely serious, grabbed an overnight bag, and left to stay with her parents. Final update. It has now been 6 weeks since the day I canceled the cruise. The dust has finally settled, and the landscape of my life looks drastically different, but infinitely better. Blythe ended up moving into Keely's spare bedroom in Smyrna, a suburb about 30 minutes outside the city. The fallout in our mutual friend group was swift, brutal, and highly entertaining to watch from a distance. At first, Blythe went on a massive public relations campaign. She tried to spin the narrative to everyone who would listen, telling people I was an abusive, financially controlling monster who canceled her dream vacation at the port out of paranoid, unprovoked jealousy. But I kept receipts. I had screenshotted her texts telling me to grow up, and the ones demanding I fix the reservation she told me not to attend. I had no problem sending the entire context to anyone who asked what happened. Once people in our social circle realized she had secretly coordinated a $17,000 vacation with her ex on my dime, the sympathy for her dried up instantly. Several of my friends' wives actually reached out to apologize to me for believing her initial story. As for Vance, according to the grapevine, he had an absolutely miserable time on the cruise. He had entirely banked on Blythe sneaking him into my exclusive suite enclave, eating at the private restaurants, and letting him gorge on my premium, unlimited drink package. Instead, because he could not access any of the very important person areas, he was stuck in a 140-square-foot interior room with no windows, eating at the crowded, loud, free buffet for 9 days. He ended up getting terrible seasickness because he was so low in the ship. When he finally got back to Atlanta, Blythe apparently screamed at him in a coffee shop for ruining her life, and they are no longer speaking to each other. Financially, yes, I took a massive hit. Losing $14,200 into the void of cruise line cancellation policies is a bitter pill to swallow, no matter how much money you make in commercial underwriting. But the way I look at it, a divorce with Blythe, 3 years down the line, would have cost me half my assets, the condo, my sanity, and potentially tens of thousands in legal fees. 14 grand was a bargain for the absolute certainty that I was cutting a toxic, manipulative, and deeply selfish person out of my life before we signed legally binding documents. I am currently sitting in the Delta Sky Club at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport typing this out on my iPad. The $3,300 I got refunded from the canceled excursions, specialty dining, and drink packages. I used it to book a 5-day solo trip to a high-end golf resort in Scottsdale, Arizona. I have a tea time at TPC Scottsdale tomorrow morning. There are no ex-boyfriends hiding in the itinerary, no drama, and no manipulative ultimatums. Just me, my golf clubs, a bottle of excellent bourbon, and a whole lot of hard-earned peace and quiet. Sometimes, the best revenge is not screaming, fighting, or trying to ruin someone's life. It is simply taking a disrespectful person exactly at their word, giving them precisely what they asked for, and quietly walking away while they choke on the consequences of their own actions. Thank you for watching until the very end. Wishing you happiness, peace, and a wonderful day ahead.